After defeating the 7 Koopalings a second time, Mario and Luigi succeeded yet again in saving Princess Peach Toadstool from the clutches of the Dark Lord Bowser, King of the Koopas. Defeated, Bowser fled in his clown car, but not to never return. Back in the heart of Mushroom Kingdom, thousands of toads gathered for a great celebration for the princess's safe return and the heroism of the courageous Mario and Luigi. And the Yoshi, grateful for the rescue of their hatchlings, swore their allegiance to Princess Toadstool and the Mario brothers, pledging to protect Mushroom Kingdom. To solidify this newfound relationship, Peach appointed one of the Yoshi to be the royal representative of all Yoshi in the kingdom. To commemorate her heroes, Peach commissioned for a great sporting event for the enjoyment of the entire kingdom, the very first Grand Prix in the kingdom's history, using go-karts. Every year, by her decree, each of the 7 kings of Mushroom Kingdom would present their finest and most proficient toads to participate in this Grand Prix. Peach herself would enter the finest of her own toads, making 8 racers total. In honor of her rescuers, she then named this new annual event Mario Kart. But the peaceful celebration was not to last, for a day came when the King of the Koopas, Bowser himself, got wind of this grand event and disrupted the race, landing his clown car directly in the middle of the racetrack. It was then the Koopa King made a nefarious bargain proposition. He challenged the princess to the very Grand Prix she commissioned, a Grand Prix that included tracks all across both Mushroom and Koopa Kingdom. If he won, he would gain the right of capturing her with no chance of Mario or Luigi coming to the rescue again. He then granted her to make her own conditions and set the consequences should he lose. In the hopes of restoring peace to the kingdom from Bowser's ruthless terrorizing, Princess Peach pondered this proposal, consulting her royal cabinet as well as Mario, Luigi, and the royal Yoshi representative. Though the 2 plumbers opposed such an idea, Peach insisted that this was the one way she could fight for her own honor. With that being said, Mario and Luigi and the Yoshi insisted in return that they be allowed to participate in the race as well, and Peach conceded and appointed the champion Toad of the Grand Prix the previous year as a 4th support racer. Mario also offered as a third-party racer to invite Donkey Kong Jr., whom he had contended with not too long ago. He suggested that if Donkey Kong Jr. won, he would not only receive the prize money but would also receive a year's worth of the finest bananas in all the kingdom. Princess Peach agreed to this proposition and sent the invitation to Donkey Kong Jr., who gratefully accepted. Having an advantage in numbers, Peach proposed to Bowser that if either she or her support racers won, he would not only be forced to leave Mushroom Kingdom, but also would be forced to surrender his castle and the region it rested on, an utter dishonor to Bowser as King of the Koopas. Bowser knew this, and though Peach did allow for him to enter one of his Koopa Troopa underlings as an 8th racer, he was still unsatisfied, claiming it was not a fair bargain. Knowing this to be true, a disheartened Princess Peach sought a way to bring balance between the racing parties. Then, a nearly completely unknown inventor in the kingdom, Professor Elvin Gadd, hearing of the impasse, offered his assistance to the princess in the creation of a modified version of the item boxes scattered throughout the kingdom. These boxes would now be scattered throughout the racetracks, and the items retained by these modified boxes would include the red mushroom, the Starman, the coin, and the feather. In addition, Egad proposed that Bowser would be granted 2 items of his choice to add to the item boxes, and Donkey Kong Jr. would be granted 1 item to add as well. Egad also proposed that he would add 2 items of his own to the item boxes, and this pleased the princess. Peach then offered this very solution to Bowser, and though reluctant at first, Bowser conceded and departed for a time. Unbeknownst to the inhabitants of Mushroom Kingdom, Bowser took this time to summon the finest of all the red and green-shelled Koopas in his kingdom, and commanded them to surrender their shells to him and his cause under pain of death. Upon accomplishing his will, Bowser returned with a vast slew of red and green shells, and handed them all to Professor Gad to implement them into the item boxes, and implement them he did. Donkey Kong Jr. offered the remains of his bananas, that is, the peels, as road obstacles, and Gad happily accepted them. Last of all, Gad implemented his own 2 items. He first extracted his prized captives from their prisons as his first item. Booze, from the ghost houses he managed to capture using an experimental technology of his own invention. And secondly, he combined magical samples he had gathered over the years, samples from the wands of the 7 kings, stolen by the Chemic Order, the power stars of Princess Peach, and the item boxes throughout the kingdom. With these samples and his electrical devices, he forged his second item, the lightning bolt. With 8 racers and 9 items for the new item boxes, the Great Grand Prix commenced. The whole of Mushroom Kingdom sat at the edge of their seats as they watched via Lakitu Bros TV the King of the Koopas come ever so near to overcoming Peach or her support racers. One moment Peach took the lead, the next Bowser. Then when Mario or Luigi took the lead, Bowser or his Koopa crony obtained a shell, a Starman, or worst of all, Gad's deadly lightning bolt, and took the lead once more. Then the final cup came, and it seemed all was lost as Team Peach and Team Bowser were toe-to-toe. But as the end drew near, and as Bowser approached the finish line, Donkey Kong Jr. hurled a peel directly in front of Bowser's cart, slowing him down enough for Koopa Troopa to speed ahead of him. But the Koopa's lead was short-lived, as his close runner-up Mario launched a shell into his cart, sending him off-road with his king. With the Koopas detained momentarily, Peach crossed the finish line with Mario coming in second, and Donkey Kong Jr. in third. Stripped of his castle and the land it rested on, a humiliated and enraged Bowser flew back to the remains of his kingdom in search of a new region for a new castle. But the Koopa Troopa that aided him knew the heart and will of his wrathful king, and fled from Koopa Kingdom, taking refuge in Mushroom Kingdom. However, the Koopa still remembered the thrill of the Grand Prix, and although he avoided showing his face again in the Grand Prix for a time, he still took on another racing venue, track and running, a thing unspeakably unheard of among the Koopas. But because of his vigor and passion, the ambitious young Koopa Troopa became the fastest Koopa in history. He is known as Koopa the Quick to this day. Donkey Kong Jr., despite not winning, was rewarded by a grateful Princess Peach who still supplied him with a year's worth supply of the kingdom's finest bananas for aiding them in defeating Bowser in the Grand Prix. Thankful for the gift, Donkey Kong Jr. departed from Mushroom Kingdom and mysteriously vanished. As the construction of Bowser's new castle progressed in Koopa Kingdom, Princess Peach meanwhile wrote to Mario, inviting him and a few friends to come by her castle for a private celebration after already having had a public celebration of the recent victory across the entire Mushroom Kingdom. But unknown to Mario, Luigi, and the two's cousin, Wario, Bowser got there first, and stole Peach's power stars and used them against her, imprisoning her and her three friends. Thanks to the help of Yoshi, the royal representative, the three plumbers were rescued, who in turn overthrew Bowser and his tyranny yet again, and rule and safety were returned to Peach once more. Defeated and humiliated twice in such close proximity, Bowser's rage burned as a blazing furnace, and he demanded to participate in the next Grand Prix, this time claiming his entering again was solely for restoring his honor. Distrustful of his motives, but having pity on the pathetic Koopa King, Peach agreed on condition that he race alone for his own cause. As before, Peach would race along with Mario, Luigi, Yoshi, and the champion Toad. Wario entered the race as the seventh racer, posing as another support racer for Peach, though in truth he only cared about the prize money. Because the search for Donkey Kong Jr. proved fruitless, Peach in turn invited the ape's son, Donkey Kong III, to be the eighth racer in honor of his father, and Donkey Kong happily consented. As the princess gathered more red mushrooms and DK decided to harvest more bananas for the race, the great darkness descended on the Koopa Kingdom, as the king of the Koopas unleashed his wrath on his own people. To ensure that he would never lose again, Bowser summoned the Kamek Order and commanded them to harvest the shells of all the red and green-shelled adult Koopas in the kingdom, under pain of the death of both those who resisted and their children. This time, however, not being directly summoned by King Bowser himself, many of the Koopas resisted, and thus, by Bowser's decree, were put to death by the Kamek Order. But the Kameks themselves were deceived, for upon presenting the myriad of red and green shells to their king repaid them by betraying them, luring them into a trap that led to their deaths and the harvesting of their magical blue spiny shells. Having a colossal arsenal at his disposal, the king of the Koopas demanded his collection be programmed into the item boxes. Though suspicious of how Bowser came by this number of shells, Peach recognized that Bowser's new strength in items would also prove to be his new weakness, as in the last Grand Prix, and thus she allowed for Professor Gad to include Bowser's shell collection for the good of Mushroom Kingdom, and, she hoped, for that of Koopa Kingdom also. As before, Bowser left the Grand Prix in defeat and was unheard of for a time as he lived ashamed and alone in his castle, never leaving it for years. As jubilant celebration reigned yet again in Mushroom Kingdom for the princess and her victory, grief and turmoil tormented Koopa Kingdom. In spite of Bowser relenting in his ruthless and merciless reign, the memory of their king betraying them shackled the wailing hearts of all the Koopa inhabitants and shook their loyalty to him. In turn, many Koopas and even Goombas sought to migrate to the Mushroom Kingdom or elsewhere, in hopes of escaping the land of the memory of mourning. the memory of death and the memory of the betrayal of the king.